listening to the Transformations with Jayne podcast. I'm your host, Jayne Nakata, a New Zealander living her best life in Fukushima, Japan. I'm a podcast consultant and the creator of Pod Launch with Jayne, a system that helps you create your dream podcast without all the drama and hassle, leaving you more free time to do the things you love to do. This show is for people who want to hear stories of women who are doing amazing things here in Japan and across the world. You'll find loads of inspiration for how you can live your best life wherever you are. I'm glad you're here. Let's get on with the show. Hi, Tiffany. Welcome to the Transformations with Jayne podcast. It's great to have you on the show today.
Hi, Jayne, and hi to all your amazing listeners. Thank you for having me on the show. I'm really excited to be here.
Thanks for coming on the show today. So for those people who don't know who Tiffany is, could you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about why you're here in Japan, who you are, what you do, and who you help?
Okay. So first and foremost, before I say anything, I just want to say thank you so much for inviting me to your podcast. I've been listening to your podcast episodes and it's been really helpful. And thank you for sharing this amazing voices from different people's stories. And I'm really honored to be here and to be able to share my story as well. So really grateful.
Oh, I'm glad to have you on the show. Yeah.
Yeah. So I am a transgender woman of experience. I am living here in Japan for about more than 25 years. I'm originally from the Philippines. I was born and raised in Manila. I came here in Japan during my college, and the reason why I came to Japan is because my mom married to a Japanese.
Right.
And my Japanese dad, which is my stepfather, they've been together for ever since. And that's the reason why I came here to live and try and be with them. But the original plan is I would love to go to America. That was my plan, my American dream. And then I was just making a way to probably stay in Japan for a few years or a year or so, and then move to America, because I think it's easier for Filipinos, if you have a Philippine passport, to go to America back in the days. If you don't have any connections in America, it's so difficult for Filipinos to go there. So unless you have a relatives and all that. But so I thought coming to Japan first and then having that, approval that I live in Japan for a few years, then I can move to America. I'm glad I didn't go to America. And I realized after visiting America a few times that I was safer, and my life here in Japan is more, the opportunities that I've had here, I probably couldn't get it in America. So I traveled in America quite often, but I chose to stay in Japan, and 25 years.
Here you are. Yes. So you're my senpai. I've only been here for 20 years.
Okay, that's pretty long
too. So 5 years my senpai. And I actually arrived in the middle of August 20 years ago from the winter in New Zealand. And I was most horrified to discover that it was very hot, very humid. I'd never experienced this kind of heat before. And actually, even after 20 years, I still cannot handle the heat in Japan. I'm wondering if I'm ever going to get used to it. Probably never. I think my DNA just refuses to get used to the hot weather in Japan. But I'm sure coming from the Philippines, it wasn't so much of a challenge for the heat. Potentially the cold was what?
Not at all. But of course, cold. We don't have winter in in the Philippines. But at the beginning, of course, of my stay in Japan was rather more of I was just awed with the snow and then the winter. And then when when you watch the movies and the films, when you see people have their breath, what do you call that? The
steam coming out of their breath, right?
That was
fog,
for me.
Foggy breath, yeah. You'd
Yeah,
never
exactly.
had that before, and that was
No,
exciting.
I
Really?
was just I was like, wow, like coming out of my mouth during winter time in Japan. We don't have that in the Philippines at all.
Of course, right.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. And that was a real novelty for you coming to Japan, was to have blowing steam like that, right?
Exactly.
Oh, funny. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And when the snow, like when the first time I saw the snow, I was just like, wow. Like, like, because we never have snow in the Philippines.
Sure. Yeah.
Mm,
Okay.
mm.
Yeah. For me, that was more yeah. Okay. This is snow. I know what that is. Yeah. We have snow in New Zealand.
But I've heard,
Interesting. Hmm.
but I've heard in New Zealand, you guys like have so much nature and amazing nature all
Mm-hmm.
around, right?
Yes, particularly where I'm from, and very beautiful
Mm.
nature. Like there's nothing making it look ugly, which you can kind of have sometimes in Japan. You know how, even nature sometimes has like rundown things or power lines everywhere or ugly signs or something. We don't have that in New Zealand. So I do remember actually coming on the train when I arrived in Narita airport for the first time, coming in on the train from Narita to Tokyo and looking out the window at the nature, kind of like the countryside between Narita and getting to Ueno Station, and just sort of going, oh my God, this country is really ugly. Like just coming from being surrounded by complete beautiful nature. I had not visited any of the beautiful places, right? That there are in Japan. And here in Fukushima, there are a lot of beautiful mountains and things too. But that was really shocking to me. It was like, wow. Yeah. I couldn't get used to it for a long time.
Yeah. But by the way, where are you located in Fukushima?
So I live near the sea, so on the coast of Fukushima, not
Oh.
in the mountains. So people know the mountains of Fukushima and for skiing, and if you come on the Shinkansen, you will come to the center of Fukushima, but I live on the coast, so in the Iwaki city. And
Oh,
we
Iwaki.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I have one of my former coworker and became a friend. She lives there, Iwaki City.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right. It's very nice
Mm.
here. Not so hot as Tokyo, not so cold as other places in Fukushima, not so snowy. Perfect little place to live, actually, for a New Zealander like me. So, yeah, I'm glad
Mm.
I accidentally ended up here. But anyway, you ended up in Japan 25 years ago. You felt safe here as a
Yes.
transgender woman. Eventually, you became a transgender woman while you were here. Is
Yes.
that right? Yeah. And then
Yes.
you felt safer here and you decided that you were going to live your life in Japan. It's not just a stop off place, or did that just kind of happen? Like,
I never really thought about I'm gonna stay here like from
right.
then.
Mm-hmm.
I just realized because living in the Philippines, I was bullied all the time.
Right.
And it was so normal to be bullied by people being different
Mm-hmm.
that you just get used to it and you just like, oh, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and then moving to Japan and realizing that the trans women or the gay back then there was an LGBT community yet, right? It was more of a transgender or gay. A lot of the gay communities in Japan and also transgender women community where I was belong, they were really praised and being amazed by all these Japanese, people that, oh, you
Sure.
guys look beautiful and this and that, and I was in that world for many years. And then traveling to America, realized because I've encountered a few situations
Hmm.
that was really scary. So I thought like living in Japan was a safe space for me.
Right. That's very interesting. And I think people from outside looking into Japan wouldn't believe you if you said that, right? Especially
Yes.
we've just had a ruling from the courts that same-sex marriage is still illegal and not going to be recognized and all of that. But actually, as a transgender woman, you feel safe living in this country than you would in another country potentially. Mm.
Oh yes, absolutely. I couldn't yeah, like it's just I just realized it later on that I was really lucky and fortunate to be here and not
Mm.
even thinking about going to a bathroom. It will be my problem. It wasn't even that.
Mm.
And walking around by yourself. I mean, of course, not just me. I mean, for women, like walking
Yeah.
around midnight,
Mm.
whatever, like it's totally safe.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah. So originally you were part of this community of
Mhm.
transgender women, and it was, I heard about this from another podcast that you were
Yes.
working in show pubs, right? Is it?
Yes, I
Yeah.
do.
What
I
was that
did. I did.
like?
Oh, whew. That was the longest career that I've had. And it was a lot of learning. And I thought that was the only career that I can have.
Okay.
Because when I came here, I was still in second year college when I stopped in the Philippines and moved here in
Mm-hmm.
Japan. And then my mom told me either you go, you want to do part-time job, or you can still
Like work in
continue
a
your study.
combini or yeah,
Not
or
even
something like that.
convenient, not even
A
convenient because
factory or
um
something.
factory, yes, factory, because
Right.
back then all the Filipinos work for factories.
Okay.
And so my mom was telling me either you go to a factory as a worker or you study. But then I thought, like, in Japan, it can probably be difficult for me to understand the language too, knowing that moving here, not many people spoke English.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, like, maybe going to school can be very difficult for me,
Mm-hmm.
especially it's college, right? So I told my mom I'm just gonna go for a part-time job, and I found out that I can earn money, and that was the first time I was working, because I never worked in the Philippines. I never did a part-time job when I was in the Philippines, and learning that I can have that money, and I'm like, oh wow, this is nice. But then working for I think about a year in a factory, I also knew back before I came to Japan that a lot of trans women work in Japan, but I just don't know the accent. I don't know where are they. And my mom was a part of the Philippine community. They're like, Filipinos are like communities.
Yeah, yeah,
Everyone knows
yeah.
everyone, right? So I asked her if she knows where are the trans women works. She doesn't know. She doesn't know. She told me she doesn't know, but like her friends might know.
Mm-hmm.
But she wasn't really. She doesn't want to support me. She was telling me that, oh, if you're gonna do that, then you're gonna change and what, like, like she's not agreeing to the transformation that I'm gonna
Right.
go.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I just told her, no, I just want to see. I just want to look. I just want to look. And, check out what they do here. And then she asked her friend, and then we went to this one of the all Filipino trans women show pub. And back then there were so many show pubs. I didn't even knew, like, and then like
Mm.
this one place that we went, I was just amazed by all the women, the trans women, because they're all gorgeous, they were all beautiful. And I
Mm.
was just like, this is the world I want to be. So please let
Right.
me. I was telling her, and then the women, the trans women we were at, like, we're chatting, we're all that, and then they're convincing my mom to, to make me a part of the community, and that's how it all started.
Right. So you had their help and their support to get
Yes,
started. When you found them, like you had to find them first. That was a bit, you
yes,
couldn't
yes.
just, it wasn't like there was a Facebook group back then, right? That you could
No,
join or, or
not
an
even
Instagram
that.
channel you could find or
Yeah.
YouTube or anything like that. Right.
It was more
Hmm.
of like you have to know people,
Yeah.
right, to get to the
Right.
access to those
Mm-hmm.
places.
Mm-hmm.
And then I what I love about the Philippine community is when someone's new, they really help you out. They really, teach you, they
Mm-hmm.
let you know like what to do and where to find, where to start. So I've never even done my hormone therapies. So they told me like, oh, there's this place that we can go in Asakusa to get hormone
Wow.
therapies and all
Mm-hmm.
that, because not many places do it back then in Japan. Now you can
Mm-hmm.
have access to everyone getting hormone therapies, but back then it was only just one access that everyone knows that goes every weekend when they're off. And
Right.
that's where I could
Right.
get it.
Okay. So you were working in a show for quite a few years. And then what happened next?
So I was in a show pub for quite a long time. Like, it was probably more than 10 years. I work with different places. I,
Mhm.
I started working with the all Filipino trans women community. And then I realized there's also Japanese trans women community. So
Okay.
I tried auditioning. We call it audition. It's not even audition. It's like just, like
Right.
mensetsu. Mensetsu is audition, right?
Interview, right? An interview.
Interview.
You interviewed for a position at a different
Yeah.
pub, right?
And it's so, and I want to share this because back then when you go for like mensetsu, like the interview, the first thing they will ask you is like, so what's your physical condition? Like, if you're if you've done the SRS, which is the, the complete surgery,
Right.
or are you just doing hormone therapy? And that's
Okay.
how they base your salary.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So if you're full up, like you have your breast
You
implant and you have
transition
you
fully
transition
through
fully, you get higher salary.
salary. Oh, wow. Interesting.
It's very
Mm,
interesting. Yeah. And
mm,
because I haven't fully transitioned yet. When I was, of course, I was just
yeah.
starting, right, a few years, and then I was trying different pubs and clubs, and then I got rejected from some of the few famous trans women club because I wasn't fully um transition yet. So
Right.
they only allowed trans women who is fully transitioned.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was
So
that for their clientele, like to say to their clientele, or was there some kind of, I don't know, like
that's a good question.
tears like
that's a
behind
very
it?
good that's a
Like
very
I
good
would have thought
question.
it was the beauty that would determine your salary or your skill as a dancer or a singer or whatever,
Mm,
you know? Mm.
exactly, right. I thought it was also the skill. It's not even the skill. I think they because it's very underground
Mm-hmm.
back in the days. um some of the girls, especially the
Mm.
operated trans women, they would do like kind of a close to naked shows, and they
Right.
would show their body. So
Mm-hmm.
um and I think a lot of Japanese customers wants to see that,
Right.
like
Mm-hmm.
you can see fully naked, but like, like in silhouette and all that, so,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how they base the salary.
Interesting. Okay. Right.
Yeah. It's a very
Oh.
underground community. It was
Mm.
never there are a few trans women show pubs in Tokyo that
Mm-hmm.
was really more of variety, but
Right.
a lot of this trans women clubs and show pubs, it's very underground. They
Okay.
never do like um it's not really about it's not having sex or whatever, but it's just like it's very underground. You cannot have an access unless you know someone.
Right. Right. It's all like by invitation only kind of
Exactly, yeah.
world. Okay.
Mhm, mhm.
And so, why did you decide to leave that and do something else? This you became involved in the event scene
Yes.
in Tokyo after that, right?
Yes. When I was doing that job, I eventually went on the full on surgery. I went to Thailand for a month with my sister who was with me, who supported me throughout my healing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I came back and I realized, oh wow, I'm a complete woman. So
Right.
why not make a different persona of me that I can be in the not in the community that I am already, like the trans women community, but rather be out there and be seen. And that was doing modeling, my modeling career,
Right.
and also
Modeling.
doing the
Mm.
events. I was doing that for 10 years, never telling anyone that I was doing this job as a showgirl. At the same time, I was doing the events and doing modeling career. I never shared the other career that I have with these people that I hang out here. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't open about my gender identity because I thought if I'm going to share who really I am, then they're not going to accept me.
Mm-hmm.
I might not get a job for modeling. So it was more of, I think, an approval and an acceptance for those communities
Mm.
that I didn't tell and share my gender identity.
Mm. That must have been hard,
Yes, it was very hard, very very
hiding
hard.
and
Mm-hmm.
hoping they'll like you and accept you,
Yes,
wondering
and
if you might be found out.
exactly, and that's how I
Mm.
learned to drink alcohol.
Okay.
So
Right.
it numbs me. It numbs me to, and it gives me confidence to go out
Mm.
there and be like,
Mm-hmm.
yes, like I'm a woman, whatever they say, like, no, I'm not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
blocked all of, some people, of course, they assume like they probably can tell. And I never even no, of course not. I'm not, like I always lied. I always tell them I'm a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really hard because lying, I mean, in the beginning it was really hard, but then like when you learn and when you're being numb by the alcohol, and then I was also experimenting with drugs,
Mm-hmm.
all this numb you, and then you became when you get used to that cycle, every time you lie, it becomes just a normal for you, right?
Right.
Every time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So eventually that came to a point where you decided you didn't want to do that anymore. Tell us about what happened when you to transition to where you are now, all the great things you're doing now.
So after numbing myself from all that, like in
Mm.
that world of modeling career and being in events, all
But that
this,
looks pretty damn fun from the outside looking in,
it
right?
does. It
Was it
does.
fun?
That's what it was fun, but at the same time, because I wasn't really open about myself.
Mm-hmm.
So it was more of like, how would I say it? Like half of it was fun, of course, because it was an experience. You get connected with so many amazing people too. But half of it was like, at the end of the day, you go back home and you feel like, I wish they knew. I wish they could accept
Right.
me for who I am,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So that happens every time until I realized that until this one realization came to me about the relationships that I've had in the past. Because all these men that I met, of course, is from that world, right? They
Mm.
knew me not from the show, being a showgirl, being a trans woman. They knew me, they met me through, being in the event industry, being a model.
Mm.
And most of them they didn't know in the beginning. And if they insisted to have a relationship, of course I will tell them.
Yeah.
And when I had this one last relationship that I had was very because I thought it was the perfect match for me and all that.
Mm.
And then when I told about myself and he didn't accept it and he was just like gone, it broke me, right? I
Right.
was heartbroken, and that eventually made me realize a lot of things that what I needed to do. And that's how the life coaching came in. I was studying and learning a lot of personal development. I went to Bali for a month to a retreat, to attend a retreat, and understanding more about myself. And
Mm.
that's how the loving myself more, understanding myself more, the acceptance of myself
Mhm.
came true. And then I realized I need to share these stories, and I realized I have to accept who I am in order for me
Mm.
to be free from all, like all those. I mean, I didn't regret having all of those experiences because it made me who I am today, but I definitely felt more lighter. I definitely felt more not worried every time or scared whenever I encountered people or whenever I meet new people, because
Right.
I'm open.
Mm-hmm.
I never hide myself anymore. I became more vulnerable and open about myself.
Mm. Yeah. And so you didn't need to use alcohol anymore.
I quit alcohol 5, 6 years ago. That
Mm-hmm.
was, and then I became sober. I was happier. I think I would never definitely go back because the hangover first is one of the things like I always
Yeah. Yeah.
struggled.
Yeah. The
And
hangovers.
even
Yes.
though, did you know, do you drink alcohol?
Sometimes yes and no. Like I like it, but it doesn't agree with me much these days. So yeah, I try to drink less and less actually.
So
Yeah.
you get hangover too,
Oh
right?
yeah. Yeah. Especially now that I'm how old I am. So yes. Yeah.
Exactly. So do you know that in Japan they have this for hangovers, ukon,
Oh
like
yes,
the
yes. The little gold bottles with
yes.
yes, from the combini, yes.
Exactly. I always had that every day because I know that
Oh,
that
okay.
will help me. I even brought it with me like abroad, like when I go travel, because I know that if I'm going to drink there, they don't have like, they would
Ukon.
probably have
Mm.
the what do you call
Uko
that
no
drink?
chikara. Yeah,
Uko no
that's so
kochikara. But
yeah.
they have that drink in other countries that made of the cocktail with the tomato. What was that called? I forgot the name of that
The Bloody
alcohol.
Mary?
Bloody Mary. So the Bloody Mary, the Bloody Mary doesn't even help me. So every
Right.
time I have the uko no chikara, Oh, like it's so it relieves me. It helps me
Oh,
so
okay, it did
much.
help. That's interesting. Never really found them to be helpful. Not that I'm a usual drinker of ukon no chikara, but there you go. There's some information. Feeling a little bit, yeah, this the effects of the night before. Okay. So yeah, so you got sober, and yeah, you started going down this different path, which is sort of on the way to where you are today. So now you are the host of your own podcast, which is Why You Sound So Wonderful as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. Tell us about the Tiffany. Your podcast is called
Breakfast with Tiffany
Breakfast
show.
with Tiffany. That's right. I said something around Breakfast with Tiffany. Thank you for refreshing my memory. Yeah. Tell us
Yes.
about that.
So this podcast started during the pandemic, during the realization of what can I do? Because I was in a pre-pandemic, I was collaborating, I was in a company in Ginza where they have like all this nice bar and lounge and massive rooftop, and they do host events, and that was part of my career for the whole time. So I was working with them, and then also the place was actually built for the World Cup. Remember World Cup before 2020?
Mm-hmm.
Was
Right.
held in Tokyo, right? And then
Yeah.
the Olympics as well. So I
Yeah.
was also helping out with the inbound tourism. And I used to work with Airbnb for hosting for a host. I was the first one of the first hosts to be on Airbnb, to be an experienced host.
Right.
And I was the nightlife expert. I was doing it for a
Mm-hmm.
year for them. And then I realized, because on Airbnb, you don't have a choice. When they book you, you have to meet them.
Mm.
And a lot of them, a lot of the people that I encountered, I've learned a lot from that experience, by the way. But a lot of the
Mm.
people that I met through Airbnb are some, I mean, not everyone, but some of them are like just disrespectful of your time.
Sure.
Some like will put you in trouble. And
Mm-hmm.
back then, they didn't have the main the base of where you can contact Airbnb in case something happens.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have an office in Tokyo yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I would contact them in, I think it was in California. And then the time difference, and it was just
Mm-hmm.
like always, like I was taking care of it was a nightlife experience. So of course it was gonna be like alcohol related. It's gonna be, but I already quit alcohol during that time.
Mm.
And I'm gonna take care of all these drunk people. I'm gonna take care of this
Drunk
like people who,
foreigners who don't know how to behave in
exactly. And they're
Japan. Oh,
all
I'm terrified for you just listening to it. Oh my God.
and they're
Yeah.
all foreigners, and I've
Mm.
never even met people from some countries, and it was just like, so crazy that I realized that, wow, like I think I can do this, but not like in this way. And Airbnb didn't really supported me
Mm.
um in having the access that I gave them to this, because I was in the nightlife industry for a long time too, and I have all this access, like especially undergrounds,
Access
right?
and kudos and credibility that was being
Exactly.
used, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Hard
Yeah.
won credibility that was being used. Yeah.
Exactly. And
Mm.
that not being respected by all these guests, I
Mm.
felt like, wow, like my credibility is like gonna be gone if I keep doing this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I quit Airbnb, and I realized I can do it on my own, and
Mm-hmm.
I can just select people that I want to host.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe get to know them first before, before I go and meet them and show them around.
Yeah.
And then it worked, and I was having an amazing time. I hosted a lot of elite travelers, CEOs, and I got to travel also around Japan because of that. And I was doing that for several years before pandemic hit,
Mm.
and then all stopped.
Of
That inbound
course.
tourism
Yeah.
stopped, and then the event industry stopped. All
Mm-hmm.
stopped, and then I was just like, what am I gonna do?
Right. Your life just blew up basically, right? Your income streams were turned off. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
and then it came to my realization that I was in Bali 2019, the one
Mm.
that I told you I went for a retreat,
Mm-mm.
right?
Just
And
before the pandemic. Yeah.
yes, and it happened before the pandemic.
Mm.
So I'm already starting to transform. I know
Right.
that I'm going to transform, but I didn't know yet what's going to happen. So it was a perfect timing. That was before pandemic.
Mm.
And then during the restrictions and not the lockdown, we didn't have a lockdown in Japan. I realized what I can do online, because everyone was like starting just to be online, and I realized why don't I share my story on my social media platforms? I have quite a good following on my Instagram and my Facebook, but
Mm.
I never really shared and being vulnerable to the people that I've been connected with.
Mm.
So I the first I thought about YouTube because everyone's like on YouTube. I was like, okay, but then like I have to learn how to do YouTube. And I also realized that everyone's on YouTube is gonna be competition. Then maybe not now, and maybe I'll think about that in the future. So I love listening to podcasts,
Mm-hmm.
and I realized why not try doing podcasting?
Mm-hmm.
And I studied podcasts for a few months before I released Breakfast with Tiffany show. And I really love that through the podcast, you can meet some incredible people. And
Totally. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. And learn
Hello.
new
What are we doing
things.
today?
Exactly.
Yeah.
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 And
Mm.
you also learn new things
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
being entertained, right? And then hearing the guest's voice helps amplify like the words and literally brings them to life. So podcasting has helped me
Mm.
become a better communicator,
Mm-hmm.
both in speaking and listening. It also helped me build more confidence and show and allow me to talk to anywhere, anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And it also helped me become a good leader.
Wow. Yeah. So now you coach others. Who do you coach? Like, who do you help?
With coaching, I wanted to focus on the LGBT community because I think I can resonate with them more with
Mm.
my
Mm.
experience.
Mm-hmm.
Um, with the coaching is not really popular yet, right? Especially here in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
It's just starting to be known, and I still every people that I meet, if I tell them like I'm a coach, and they will be like, "What coach?" A lot of them still don't know. So I
Or
I
is it
think
more like mentoring? You're sort of, yeah, helping bring up the next generation of
yeah.
transgender women who are in
Mm-hmm.
Japan, but or wherever they might be. You could,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm,
Exactly.
mm,
And so for them, it's not really familiar yet. So in the future, I want to help um the LGBT community for coaching if I can. But I also during I also host retreats. So during my retreat, I coach people who attend my retreat.
mhm,
And the last one that I hosted for a retreat, a lot of them are women. Most of them, everyone was a woman.
mhm,
So it didn't matter if they're women or men or if they're LGBT, as long as I can help them and then share them my experiences. And also, I focus on health and wellness.
mm,
So if anything I can help them with health and wellness and also being spiritual, that has been my journey during my transformation.
mhm. Okay, yeah. So you said your last retreat. What happened at the last retreat? Where was it?
Oh, so last retreat was last January. I think we did it like end of January or first week of February.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it was more of like detoxing. We did
Oh.
we did a weekend detox.
Mm.
That's why probably there's a lot of everyone was women because when you say detox, right?
Right. We want to detox. Yes, let's detox together.
Exactly.
Yeah. Is it less painful to detox in a group, like in that sort of? Is it more fun potentially to
I
detox
think
together?
I so this is the first time I did detox retreat, and I think it
Mm,
was more fun and more motivating because
mm,
everyone
mm.
is in the same. Everyone has to be on the same page, and everyone is motivating each and everyone, right? So,
Right.
um, I think doing a detox by yourself can be also challenging because if you're doing on your own and you'd be like, oh, I'm gonna be fine, like then you're not be able to do
Mm,
it, right? But then
mm.
if you have this community of other people who's really motivated and
Supporting
um
you through it. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So
Mm,
that's actually how I realized like, oh, that this works, like having a detox. And we didn't eat food, but we were having just juice. It's all about juice cleansing, but we all had an amazing time
mm.
together.
Yeah. And where did you go?
We went on a fasting hotel. This fasting hotel was just recently opened in Chiba this year. Oh no,
Mm.
no, last year. They opened last
Mm.
year, late last year, but they officially like really opened
Mm.
like from January. So it
A
was
fasting
quite new.
hotel. Mm.
Yes, it was quite
Mm.
new, and it was a really nice, very neat and clean hotel. It was perfect for the retreat because they have the juice, the detox. When because I just have to make a team of detox, and then
Yeah,
everything is there. They have all
they
the
provide it for
juicers.
you. Hmm.
Yeah, they provide everything, and they have nice rooms, and the location for they had a nice patio. They even have sauna, like an onsen that you
Mm.
can also go. So it was really a nice location especially for detox, because detox is very important to have your own space. I did several retreats before that, and it was more of like sharing space, like
Sure.
in a one house in the middle of a
Hmm.
mountain, nowhere, that
Hmm.
you are just gonna be. It was in Shimoda. It was gonna be and you are surrounded by nature. It was really nice, but it was just a massive one house that you have to share
Sure.
the
A little bit
space with
more
everyone.
in your face. Yeah.
Yeah, but then
Okay.
it
Mm.
was really challenging because it was during COVID.
Right.
So a lot of people are not comfortable to
Mm.
be that close to each other. So
Hmm.
but then there were people who attended. So I'm really
Mm.
lucky, and I'm really grateful for that.
Wow, that sounds really exciting. The juice cleanse together at a hotel. Like, there's no way I'd want to do that in my own home with my family around me who are like
Right?
munching away on potato chips or like, oh, mummy, would you like a bite of my ice cream? The mummy tax is what we call it. Everyone has to give me a bite of their ice cream. I don't want my own ice cream, but I will have a bite of your ice cream kind of thing. Yeah, like go and had spend time with new friends
Mm-hmm.
and feel better at the end of the weekend. Maybe you have a few tough moments while you're cleansing and all that, but you can distract yourself with various things and people and do things together. Yeah, that sounds great. I hope that you are going to put together another one of these soon that
I,
people
I
can
I wanted to.
attend. Yeah, cheaper is very accessible for a lot of people, right? It's easy to get
Mm.
to, all
Yes,
of that
yes.
as well.
Mm.
Yeah,
I
or
also
hmm,
I really think that location is very important.
hmm,
And also that that last retreat, a few of them were actually moms, so it was an
yeah,
escape for them for
totally.
a weekend to, like what you
Mm.
said, like it was they can't do it on their own because they have families, and it's going to be difficult for them,
A
but then
hundred
like
times more painful. Yes.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes,
Right.
yes. Mm.
Yeah. Great. So, yeah, check out Tiffany's where to see when the next one of these is happening, or where should people go to find out more about this? Is it your
Oh,
website?
yes, thank you so much for saying that, Jane. I have my own website, tiffanyrossdale.com, where I have my programs, my coaching.
Mm.
I also have the retreats. When we host the retreats, we also post it there. And soon we will start also the newsletter. So if they can sign
Mm.
up, we can
Yeah.
update them about the things going on me. And also the podcast is also there in my YouTube channel.
Yeah, if you'd like to hear more from Tiffany, listen to her Breakfast with Tiffany podcast and get on that list so you hear about the next juice retreat, or what is it? Detox retreat. That's what it's not juice
Yes.
retreat. I'm just thinking about the food. Yeah.
That's what I also love. Again, that's another thing I love about podcasts. You can share everything on podcasts. Like, I also share the experiences and the retreats that I hosted. So
Hmm.
everything is there. Like, it's like my blog, like you share all
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
stories
But you
on
don't
my,
have to sit down and read it all. You can just take
yeah.
Tiffany with you on your morning walk or whatever and hang out with Tiffany and hear all about it. Yeah, that's really, really awesome. So
Exactly.
I would like to
Mm.
ask you for um, one thing perhaps that our listeners can think about to take away from our talk today, something you'd like to share with them. It could be a piece of wisdom, it could be like a coaching question they could ask themselves. If you have something like that you could share, that just give them something to think about or mull over after this episode, like a saying. It could be a saying or kutowaza or
Mm.
um
I actually I love reading books. I
mhm,
love reading books, especially if it's personal development.
mm,
Recently I'm reading Brene Brown's book. I forgot the title, but yeah, like I was still reading it, and I just finished reading Eckhart Tolle, A New Earth. Like I
A
love
New
Eckhart
Earth. I
Tolle.
haven't read that one. I've read
The
his
other one,
other
you've read the other
ones.
one, right?
Yeah, I've read the other one. Yeah, it's
So
great. Yeah, yeah,
maybe I want to share one thing that
yeah,
Eckhart
yeah.
Tolle
Do
like shared
yeah,
in this
Eckhart Tolle.
book.
Yeah.
So he said like how you react to people and situations, especially when challenges arise, is the best indicator of how deeply you know yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that powerful?
Boom. Yeah. Right. Let's think about that for a moment. Yeah, because that's all up. It's all on you, right? How you react to people and
Yes, yes.
situations. And we've
Mhm,
had a few
mhm,
situations pop up as we're recording this just a few days ago. What's happened in America with
mm,
abortion rights being taken away, Roe v. Wade being overturned, all of this. I don't live in America, but I've been feeling so upset and angry about this, just in
mm,
general.
mm,
It's like, well, hang on a minute. What is your business is how you react to this. So yes, you can be upset and angry, but don't let it derail your daily life that you still have to do, right? So yeah, that's something I've been thinking about in the last couple of days, is really noticing, because every time you go onto social media or you look at the news, that is what the news, or my news, is telling me. So or my algorithms are telling me a lot about this. So it's been like this huge tidal wave of anger and rightfully so. But
mhm,
yeah, how are you going to react to that? Are you going to let it beat you down,
mm,
um, put you off your exercise scheme, or, like stop doing things, your self-care, because you're so angry about this or whatever? So yeah.
mhm.
Good thing. Well done choosing that one. That's a great, very timely one. I think we need to. Can you say that for us again? Just
So
refresh our memories. Yeah.
sure. So how you react to people and situations, especially when challenges arise, is
Mm,
the best indicator of how deeply you know yourself.
great. Yeah. Thank you so much, Tiffany, for coming on the show today. It's been wonderful to spend this time with you, get to know you better, and I'm looking forward to keeping in touch with you.
Thank you so much, Jane. This has been so much fun, and again, it's been an honor to be on your show, and I can't wait to hear more amazing stories that you are highlighting on your show.